Hi everyone, it's Julia with Hugs and Stitches. Today I wanted to show you how I make my fabric collages. It's almost like creating fabric just with thread, odds and ends of trims, and just adding lots of texture. It just ends up to be, they're so cool and they look so much harder than they are that it's just kind of a fake out, but I love them. So anyway, this is my first one I'm going to show you. It's kind of more the pinks and oranges, a little bit of purple. And as you can see, there's just lots of detail to it, lots of just stitches and variegated threads and just fun stuff. The next one is more in my blues. And again, it's just created with threads and different ribbons, trims. This one is in greens. And the next batch is also kind of similar, only I do add scraps of fabric to give it even more color and more texture, and a lot of different things going on in each one. This is just a little piece of it. I've used this one quite a bit for different things already. This one is on a black background, so the colors are really popping. And again, you can see all the different scraps of fabrics in there, along with the different stitching and the different ribbons. So fun. This one, I love this one. It's just so, it just shouts spring, and I can hardly wait for that to happen. I live in Minnesota, and we've had a really hard winter. But anyway, this one I love the black in this one, just with a little bit of just black thread with a couple different decorative stitches. And this one is really funky too. It's on a green background, lime green background, and again has quite a bit of black in it, but I added a lot of my blue scraps of fabric. And so anyway, there are two different kind of methods. I'm going to go over both of them with you. And we're actually going to create a couple different fabrics today. First, you may be asking, what do I do with this? But I cut pieces of this and I add the pieces to my projects. I make cards out of it. I don't have any cards here to show you, but I do have other things here to show you. I make a lot of pillows, little pillow tops. The top of this is one of my fabric collages. I added the word laugh. Here's another pillow. This one says for the love of art, and actually has 3 of my little collages that I've stitched on, just using a blanket stitch. These are little accent pillows, so they're cute on a shelf, cute on a bench. Just kind of displayed in with whatever else you have in your home decor. This one I thought was really fun too. It's another pillow. This one I've added some free motion little design, flower design, and also the word inspire, which is in just free motion writing on my machine. This one too is a pendant. It's a little necklace. Backed it on, I believe this is a piece of leather. And again have written the word art with my sewing machine. Kind of interesting, I just kind of started doing more writing with my sewing machine. And you actually write in your handwriting, which I just kind of had a chuckle about that, because I don't really like my handwriting. I'm left-handed and I have a kind of a funny slant to my letters. And when I write with my sewing machine, it's the same. I can just tell that's my handwriting. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But anyway, I do a lot of jewelry also. And they will be soldered eventually, but right now I just have them foil wrapped right now. But this one has the word happy on it. And I just have it's kind of a glare. I'm sorry about the glare, but it's glass. And I just have it enclosed in the glass, and another little timeless face on the back of that one. This one has a lot of detail to it. It's just beautiful. piece. It'll look great. I'll probably dangle beads on this and just have it as a pendant. This one is too. I put a little timeless face up here, but it almost looks like she's wearing a little outfit with the fabric collage. This one I added a little bit of lace to it. On the back of this one it says "Save the Earth" by Vintage. It's kind of fun. It's got some vintage lace on there. This one has a lot of different detail to it. A lot of different trims on this one. It's just turned out really fun. Next I'm gonna, oh, I have to show you this one too. This is a bangle or a cuff that it's made out of a paper towel roll. But I just glued it around really well, really secured, put a bunch of clothespins on it to keep it tight while I was drying, and then backed it on felt, and then added a little closure. But I thought that one turned out really, it's going to add a pop of color to your wrist. It's just really fun. Some of the supplies you're going to need, first of all, to go over the backing a little bit. I love using the batik fabrics. This is a batik fabric. I'm going to move my camera here just a little bit. The color, you want color to it. You don't want it to get too busy, especially for the one that you just add the thread and the yarn, different yarns and trims to. You don't, because you want to be able to see those threads. So you don't want it too busy. This is going to make a beautiful one. It has color, it has subtle color. It's just going to be beautiful. So we're going to work on that one today with method 1, where you actually just use the thread and the trims. And then this one, I think even though it's kind of busy, I think it's going to work. And this one we'll add some of the fabric scraps on top of it too to cover some of this up. So some just parts of it will be showing. But I think that'll work well too. And notice that I put something on the back. I did back this with interfacing. I just had a sew in interfacing, but you can certainly use an iron-on as well. It would work just as well. Anyway, and the next thing I use are different colors and different kinds and different contents of thread. Some of the contents, of course, you have the 100% cotton quilting threads. I have rayon threads. You can also use some of the metallic threads. So you have a lot of options. I use up old threads. I shop for my threads. I get them on sale because I go through so many. Another thing too to keep in mind, you can find threads at thrift stores and at garage sales. And it doesn't matter on this kind of a project. You can just use stuff up. My favorite all-time thread is this. It is a little spendy. I get it at Joann Fabrics when they have their 40% off thread sale. The skein regularly sells for I think like $12. So it has a ton of thread on it though. And I love the variegations. They're just it's just so rich and so much fun. This one's called Gumball. I think that's the name of this color. And that's what it looks like. I use this one a lot. But anyway, it is an Egyptian cotton machine quilting thread. A couple of different colors. Here's a pink. This is variegated in different rusts, orange, greens. So anyway, I use that quite a bit. Talk a little bit about the sewing machine foot. Now you can zigzag your different trims and things on using just a zigzag machine foot. But I have found this little foot. It's actually a pearls and piping foot. And I get it online at creativefeet.com. And it has I don't know if you can see it, but it does have like a plastic groove on the bottom that the cords just fit in. The cords just fit right in that groove, and it's really nice for sewing. Anyway, it's not terribly expensive. I think it was like $25 or so, but it does do the trick. You don't absolutely have to have it, but it is nice if you're going to be doing a lot of this. I wanted to tie trims, ribbons that I use for this. A variety of things just work. Some of the things that I'm just going to point out to you, ribbons. This is a silk one. It doesn't necessarily have to be washable. I do wash all this once the piece is finished, I wash it. So if it crinkles up a little bit, it just adds more texture, and I love it. So it doesn't really matter. But some of them is just like the rat cording that you can find. Like the black rat cording works awesome. Two, sometimes thrift stores and garage sales can be your friend, especially for things like the pearl cottons. People may just have a little bit left over from a project. Well, all you need is scraps and leftovers, because you'd use such a little bit for this type of a thing. So I use that kind of a item. Two, I got these this is like a braided cord I got at Walmart. Bunch of fun colors, and it just adds so much texture and interest to your work. I wanted to go over was my scraps. The second method, I do lay scraps on the top. Okay, you cannot even believe my system for scraps, but I use these big Ziploc bags. For instance, this is my greens, and all year long I'll throw my greens in a bag. This is going to be my oranges and yellows. So it's handy. I can just grab if I need. And you'll notice that a lot of them have like a white back on them, and that's my heat and bond. I do a lot of applique work, and so a lot of my scraps will have some of that heat and bond left. But it's awesome for this, because that, of course, I take the backing off, I'll lay it on my piece, and I'll actually iron it on before I take it over the sewing machine, so it's more secure. It works really well. You don't have to have the heat and bond. Another thing that I use for the second method when I use the scraps is I use, this is like a stabilizer that completely dissolves in water. And I will lay this on top of my work before I take it to the sewing machine. That way all my scraps of fabric remain in place and it doesn't get hooked on my presser foot or anything while I'm sewing. So that's another thing that I use for that second method. I do use, and I'll show you that as we're going along. So anyway, I think that's it. I think we can maybe get going on actually kind of demonstrating a little bit on how I put this together. Okay, I've kind of picked out some of the trims that I'm going to be using on this first fabric, which will be method 1. You start with the trims. That's the first thing that goes down. And you space the trims out about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches between each one. I'm going to actually sew a couple, and then I'll probably just finish it up so you don't have to sit and watch me sew. And I'll be back to show you the end result. Okay, I'm set up to start sewing now. I'm using just a contrasting thread, and I will use the same thread while sewing on all my trims. You don't have to match your thread. The whole idea of this is to have a lot of textures and interest. So I'm not going to change my thread while I'm sewing on all my trims. I do have my purl and piping foot on. I have the cord underneath in that little groove. I have my machine set to a zigzag, and I just want the zigzag to be able to cover this cord. So right now it's set at a width of about a 4.5, or excuse me, a 2, and the width is about, or the length is about a 4.5. I'm just going to sew a little bit of this, and then I'm going to do the rest of it off camera. So it's just so you can get an idea of what I'm going to be doing here. Now my next trim, I'm going to place about 2 inches or 1.5 to 2 inches away from that one. And I think I'm going to do this ribbon. I'm going to get it started. Of course, I dropped the whole thing on the floor, and it's a mess. Hang on here. Start in again here. I'm placing it underneath. And I do kind of like to vary it a little bit by moving it around somewhat. Not necessarily does it have to be in a straight line. And I'm going to just continue on here and I'll show you what I end up with. I have one last piece of trim to sew on, and I wanted to show you, because of the width of this, I switched to my free motion foot, and I'm going to just free motion this on, similar to what I did to this one. And I'm just going to show you a little bit on how I'm doing that. It's on a straight stitch right now, and I've dropped my feed dogs, and I'm going to be the one that's going to be moving this around. And I'm just going to be taking it and going back and forth and just sewing it on free motion. And that's kind of a neat little decorative stitch in itself. And I'm done with the different cordings now, and I'll start with my fun stitches. Okay, I've picked out some of the threads that I think I'm going to use for this one. And I think I'm going to start with the pink one. So I'm going to thread up my machine, and then I'm just going to show you how I do just one of these stitches. A little bit about this. I have a really nice, I just got this beautiful sewing machine, and I'm just so thankful for it. It's a Janome. It has a lot of different decorative stitches on it. You do not need to have a machine that has a ton of stitches. If you do have one, this is an awesome way to use some of those stitches. But even if you just have a few, you can really do a lot of variations even within a zigzag, because you can really increase the width and the length and do some fun things. And the feather stitch is another utility stitch that a lot of sewing machines have, and you can do a lot of fun things with that. So don't be discouraged if your machine doesn't do a lot of the decorative stitches. You can make it work. It's just surprising what you can do with a variegated for threads and different colors. So yeah, I'm going to thread up and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm threaded up and I've chosen a stitch I'm going to do. I always kind of keep my stitches about 1/4 of an inch away from the cording, and I follow the cording down. I don't like to cross the cording, nor do I like to cross my stitching. I like to keep them somewhat uniform. So here I go. This takes a lot of time, but it can be really relaxing. Sometimes I'll just put music on and I'll just kick back and just watch it go. So I'll be back in a little bit and show you all the decorative stitches that I'm using and also the different colors. Okay, it's all finished, and I'll have to say I really love the way it turned out. I did add a few free motion kind of stitches in between some of the spaces just to kind of fill in the background a little bit, give it a little bit more texture. But I'm really pleased with how it came out. So the first method, number 1, is done. The number 2 method is similar, only I add the fabrics. I thought these pinks kind of worked well. Pinks and creams worked well with this background. And so I've decided on that color scheme. I ironed all these pieces, and of course my scraps get kind of wrinkled in my little Ziploc bags. So I did press this out. And then I wanted to show you, I'm just removing the backing of these. So I've got the glue down, or the iron down side on the back, and I am just kind of placing pieces around. There's no real rhyme or reason to this. I just kind of want to lay it out so it looks somewhat interesting, and kind of vary the different colors on the piece. So much of it's covered up with other things, so you don't have to be too exact with it. And then you just go ahead and you just iron down to get it nice and flat. And then of course all those are going to iron down that have that backing on it. And then the ones that don't will be covered. I'm going to be covering with a piece of the stabilizer. So this will be going on, and then I'll just pin this down, and then my stitching will go right over the top of this. First I'll start again with the yarns and the trims, and then go into my decorative stitches. And then it gets thrown in the washing machine, and all this will dissolve off. Hi everyone, I'm back, and it's all finished. I threw it in the washing machine, so everything is dissolved. Really like how it turned out. I did use black stitching to cover all the cording, and I also used black free motion to kind of in between some of the spaces just to give it more texture and to fill in some of the background. But that's it. I wanted to also go over a little bit on pressing. You'll find that with all the stitching it does tend to just kind of wrinkle up a little bit. I don't press until I'm completely finished, and then I'm very careful with pressing because I don't want any of the threads to melt. So I do use a press cloth kind of on lower temperature on my iron. And this one too, I did press down flat. One more thing, I wanted to show you a book that I used. It gave me some really good ideas. I didn't use everything in it, but it's called Stupendous Stitching by Carol Ann Woff. She goes into a lot of how to quilt with this kind of a method also, and wall hangings. Yeah, check it out. It is really a great book. Lots of great colors to it, and it was very inspirational. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and try it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.